things kind of go the way they go. You know, I come up here and I talk, and I don't always have exactly what I'm going to do. Give me a little volume. I don't exactly have what I'm going to do ahead of time, but I pay attention to the audience, and I see what the audience is talking about, and I see the themes that are kind of being weaved throughout everybody's little presentation. And there are some very interesting themes that are happening right now with these presentations. And it's not just happening here, it's happening around our community. But before we start talking about that, let me show you something real quick. This photograph up here. This was 2010. This was when I met Carl. We had this little thing we tried to do called the Warfighter Symposium. Didn't go so well because I'm a horrible planner. But we did have this symposium. This is a photo. What are some of the things I'm missing in this photograph? One, the shades. Why? Because that was a time when I didn't realize that if I did this, I'd get less headaches. What does it also mean? I was still on a whole lot of Vicodin because I wasn't doing this. Okay, same thing, same principle. I'm also missing a beard, at least a decent beard. This was pre-beard warfighter community, people. It's like a relic. There's been a lot that's changed. Now we have a community that we can bitch about. That's not a bad thing. It means we have a community. Because 10 years ago, we didn't have one. We're the first warfighter community of all generations to be based and have the opportunity to have a digital space. And that's how we found each other. We are the digital warfighters of the world. The first ones. It didn't happen before. People talk about changes and they say, oh, the World War II guys, World War I guys, Korea guys, Vietnam guys, all that stuff. They didn't have what we have. So we had to figure out how to use what we had. They had the local VFWs. They had the local VSOs. You could go in there to the watering hole, sit down and be around guys just like yourself, have a drink, tell your bullshit, and go home. We didn't do it that way. Look at our community. It's totally different. Do we revolve around alcohol? Sometimes. While we're watching MMA, while we're getting tattoos, and while we're working out, we'll work in the alcohol. That was also different. There was no key on fitness in the past. Who did we have to learn from in our current era? We tried to learn from the Vietnam guys. We really did. We wanted to. That's the guys we respected. Those were the guys that we looked at and said, I want to be like you. I want to prove that I got some balls because I respect you. But we didn't relate. The country didn't relate to us when we deployed and came back because they were too busy trying to make up for what they did to the Vietnam guys. They didn't even pay attention to us. They thought, hey, thank you for your service. Hey, I checked the block. I'm good. I support the troops. Didn't you see my bumper sticker? And that's how they played it. Meanwhile, we were sitting out going, I don't really relate to that era, but I don't know where to find my guys. What do I do? There's this little thing called social media. Social media gets a bad rap for a lot of things, justifiably so. But one thing it did for us, while we were going through those agoraphobic moments when we didn't want to leave the house, it gave us the opportunity to go, anybody out there? Can we talk? It gave us the opportunity to watch a meme fly before our face that maybe inspired us, helped us remember about another time, let us know we were not alone. Right now, people do talk bad about the VA, but you know the highest number of suicides are those that did not report into the VA. So things have changed. Before, it was all the guys on the dope. That's changed, or is changing. The first time I made a post about cannabis, crickets. Crickets. Now I know I was getting high with half of you in the room last night, so. Something's changed. Amen, that one's changed. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'll be on the northeast corner of the hotel this evening. Bring your own weed. There's just been things that have changed, and what's changed the most is we've realized we are different, and we've carved out our own identity. We didn't look like we do now. Just 9 years ago, 10 years ago. The t-shirt companies, look around you, everybody's wearing warfighter t-shirts. First time. Didn't happen in Vietnam, didn't happen in World War II. The Vietnam guys would come home, they'd wear their fatigues. That's how they identified themselves. These guys came home, and throughout this whole process, this is what's amazing, throughout this whole process of time in the United States, there was a thing that came on, and it has a screen. It's called a television. And you go some other places, there's a bigger screen. That's called a movie screen. And how did they portray us? Crazy vet. Crazy vet. That's the thing that was plugged into everybody's mind right after Vietnam, a little bit before Vietnam. Well, how do we get over that identity crisis? Oh, when I'm over there, I'm getting shot at and blown up, you love me. I come home, you treat me like I'm a homeless person. You don't want to see me as you walk down the street. You're afraid of me. Ptsd phobia was a real thing. The Department of Labor statistic was 46%, nearly half of all human resources managers in the country. When that photograph was taken, nearly half said it was difficult to hire a veteran because of PTSD. They didn't even know what PTSD was. It was PTSD phobia that made it difficult to hire veterans, not PTSD. Because if it was PTSD, a woman who got raped would be difficult to hire. Someone who went through a natural disaster would be difficult to hire. A car wreck would be difficult to hire. None of those people were difficult to hire. Only we were difficult to hire. So it had nothing to do with PTSD. It had to do with normalized discrimination and PTSD phobia. That's what was happening when that photograph was taken. When that photograph was taken, if you got out of the military and wanted to go get an apartment, write down on that apartment application where you lived, and they go, oh, Fort Rucker, Alabama, what'd you do there? Oh, I was in the Army. Oh, okay, thank you. Your credit's not good enough to live here. You just got denied. They didn't want to rent to war fighters because they were afraid we might get a little tipsy one night and start breaking some walls. Crazy vet. Crazy vet. We weren't that. We were never that. It doesn't happen anymore. The paradigm has changed, and it has to do with that responsibility that we've taken upon ourselves. Look at this community. We're not out doing stuff other people were doing. We're here today in a leadership group, and every one of you is talking about the same thing, and that's responsibility. If there's anything we've learned that we were never taught at any other time, and that's play by the rules of the environment you're in, and that's what we're learning. As a warfighter, you go to basic training, whatever phase of that is in your career, you have to learn to play by the rules of that environment, or it's not going to go well. You're not going to have a good time. Might be a little painful. Then you're going to ship out, you're going to go to your unit. Well, that's not basic training. Now you got to learn to play by the rules of that environment, or things aren't going to go well. Might be a little painful. Then you go to war, and you got to learn how to play by the rules of that environment, because if you don't, things aren't going to go well. It's probably going to be a little painful. Then we come back, and then we go in the civilian world, and nobody ever says, it's no different. It's just different rules for a different environment. And it's that simple. It doesn't matter if we're talking about couples. It doesn't matter if we're talking about employment, legislation. It doesn't matter. We wanted to make a lot of changes back then. None of us knew how to write a bill proposal. We've learned. Warfighters getting elected because now we're playing by the rules of our environment. It's taken this long. Back then, the term influencer didn't exist, let alone veteran influencer. Now you all got celebrity veterans out there. Yeah, that didn't exist. 10 years. I thought this would all take place in like 3 years with some good marketing. No, it didn't. Because we had not identified which of us was willing to lead at the time. because too many of us didn't have the words or the language. The subject had to come up, the conversation had to happen for people to understand what role they wanted to play. It was outside of our consciousness. We just knew we respected the Vietnam guys, but we weren't them. But we didn't want to say anything because we respected them. But we found each other in the digital space. We started building our own ethos again. Ethos before ego. All these things start coming up. A way of life. A warfighter is not a job, it's a race. We are a certain way. This war right now, longest war in our history, still fought by volunteers. Volunteers. You mean to tell me that's not a certain type of person? Who grows up and says, I'll go volunteer for that? It's one type of person. Not two types, one type. When we go over there, we do these things. We serve in the military. We take these chances. People talk about camaraderie, family. That's exactly what it was. If it wasn't for reactive attachment disorder, we probably wouldn't have an all-volunteer military. Because we need family. And we know the place to get it, and we know the sacrifice we're willing to give. When you go over in that combat situation, when you're in any type of hardcore stuff for a prolonged period of time, there's something called epigenetics. It's where the body actually changes. An epigenetic adaptation. When you become your training, it's not PTSD. It's an epigenetic adaptation. We've all adapted because we had to change to the environment we were in. And that meant when we were there, your body's not going to have to worry about living 60, 80 years. You had to learn to live 60, 80 seconds. That's why the endocrine system changed. That's why our brains changed. And they all change the same way. Now, what's it mean when you share the same DNA with somebody else? You are family. What do warfighters call each other? Family. Brother. Sister. That's literal. That's not metaphorical. And this is where we've been. And nobody even considered this stuff because we didn't have a way to communicate prior to when that photograph was taken. Carl's done a fantastic job. Gallant Few does a fantastic job. Other entities out there, organizations do a fantastic job. But we still haven't made enough bridges. There's still a little bit too much ego, not enough ethos. And we got to get that squared away. And it starts right here. It starts right here with what you say and what you do, and when and where you're willing to collaborate with others, other groups. We must coalesce. We must continue to coalesce, because only through numbers do we have any strength. Social capital equals political influence. You heard that, right? Social capital equals political influence. Now, when I say politics, I'm not just talking about Capitol Hill. I'm talking about political influence over society, how a society acts, how it behaves. And nowadays, we're getting old. Look at us, guys. A little bit of gray, a little bit of hunched over, a little bit of a panza from my Hispanic friends. This happens. So what is our job now? We are the elders of a community. And you have the responsibility of an elder in a community. That's more than a mentor. That's more than a father. That's your father's father. How did I get involved in all this whole thing? Why did I join the military? Very, very simple. One, I want to give credit and love to my grandfather, Grandpa Jack. He served in World War II. He was the longest held prisoner of war in World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor happened on December 7th. He was captured on Guam on December 8th. And he spent the whole war in captivity. And I spent my life hearing from another room about how that's what Grandpa Jack did. And then I asked a question about it one day. What's that prisoner of war thing? Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't bring it up in front of Grandpa Jack. We don't talk about it. My dad's a Vietnam veteran. Hey, Dad, bring up a Vietnam question. I don't want to talk about it. When that photograph was taken, we were stuck between the I don't want to talk about it and I'm going to blow my fucking head off if I don't talk about it. And our identity could not be sorted out. Now it is. We have things called the Spartan Pledge. We have IGY6. We have, how many 22 organizations are? We've created our own lingo and lexicon within the United States. Like 15, 22 something organizations pop up every day. I'd really like to see them collaborate a little bit more. We did that. This community did that. The people you know did that. Because that's what mattered, and we do what matters and nothing else. But it did not happen fast. What is the next trick? What is the next thing that we do, and where do we do it? Well, first of all, we need to continue to coalesce. But we are the leadership community of our country. In World War II, they call it the greatest generation. I have a caveat to that. Every generation of warfighters, and whatever generation they fight, is the greatest of that generation. Give yourselves a round of applause. Here's what I've learned since that photograph was taken. We talked about this a lot today. I see the same theme. How do I go from the military into the civilian world? How do I act? Why should I act that way? Why? Because you're a versatile human being. Everything can change. Everything can adjust. If we've adjusted to other environments, why are we so stubborn to adjust to this one? Because we don't have a squad leader telling us how to do it. That's why. And up in here, when we do and we decide to build the squad leader in the brain, I have that one. My squad leader talks to me all the time. I'm going to do some stupid shit. Bap, squad leader talks to me. Don't do that. I'm going to do something cool. The squad leader says, right on. Make sure that's on your NCOER. Every one of us needs to build that squad leader. Tells you what to do. You're not doing PT? Squad leader ought to have a knee up your ass pretty quick. You're not eating right, taking care of yourself, because if you're not staying combat effective and it's because you don't want to be, you've got a problem because you are a warfighter. I use the term warfighter. Why? Because it covers all of us, and that's what we do. Service member? A service member is a penis. Don't call people service members. The joke catches up as it moves across the room. We are warfighters. That's what we do. We don't sugarcoat it. We say it like it is. And it's across all branches of service. We are warfighters. That's the unity. We cannot coalesce as a group until we coalesce our language. That language means something. There's a noun attached to who we are. We are one thing. We are warfighters. We are militants. And as we transition into this world, we learn to be militants, but with kindness. There's nothing wrong with being a warfighter and maintaining that identity. It's who you are. It's who you were born to be. Accept it. Don't try and be something fake and go out there and, When I started this whole thing, that photograph right there, I was like a Malcolm X kind of guy. Do not assimilate. Civilians suck. They're the reason everything's screwed up. We're the only ones to get anything done right. And you've all felt it too. I learned some. I learned a little more. There's a lot of good civilians out there. They do great work. They do great work for us. I'll call them back. They do great work for us, and we should acknowledge that. But don't give up the militancy that you are. That's the fire that we have. That's what I care about. I was worried. I went down to Panama last year. The reason I wasn't here last year because my heart was giving out. So I had to go down to Panama and get stem cells to save my own life. And I was very worried when I did that it would change my brain somehow, and all of a sudden I'd have another identity crisis, and I wouldn't get it. Well, I can tell you right now, after getting stem cell therapy and the type of therapy I got, yes, I have changed. Some of the things that were a problem up here are no longer a problem up here. And so I can look back and see how I did behave, what I did do, and how I did think, and how I am now, what the contrast is. That's rare, because I've done it within a year. It's very, very rare. And I'm telling you, in the warfighter mind, for guys who are hurt and injured, there's more than just simple things to overcome. more than just simple things. And the first big thing that has to be overcome is you got to get a trained squad leader up in the brain that makes sure you're doing the right thing. Because otherwise, what happens? You got the angel and the devil, right? They're just talking, battling all the time. Well, squad leader comes in, smacks them both in the head, drops them for push-ups, and sorts things out. Here's what we're going to do. And I appreciate that. You should appreciate it, and that's something everybody here can identify with, because we each have two different selves, our actual self and our traumatic self. And one of the two is always talking. And it's the squad leader that gives permission for which one to talk. Sometimes you need your traumatic self to step in, but not usually. Usually you need your actual self, the person that you are, the person that embodies all of you, and it's integrated. And you do not assimilate. I still say the same thing. We do not assimilate. We are war fighters. We infiltrate. We're not trying to become like civilians. We're just going to infiltrate their community and change them. We have the power. We have the respect. America's lost faith in politicians, what they used to see the heroes of holiday. They've lost faith in it all. But they haven't lost faith in us. And what are we going to do with that? As a warfighter, you get off active duty, here's what happens. I'll tell you right now. About 10 months after you get off active duty, woohoo, I'm off active duty. Sleeping in, eating pizza, and playing a whole lot of video games. About 10 months down the line, it's not so much fun anymore. And all that PTSD you didn't think you had, well, now it's keeping you up at night. And you're looking 10 months. That means in 2 months, you're going to be at a year. That's an anniversary. And what have you done with your life in the last year? Not much. And that PTSD I didn't think I had, now I'm pretty sure I got it, and I don't know what to do. That person right there in that situation has just hit the red zone. And pretty soon, things start popping into the head like, the world will be a better place without me. Shake your head, just let me see around here. Who's ever thought themselves the world would be a better without them? Just tell me. A couple of you? Yeah? That's a distortion. Whenever that happens, you have to realize you're in a distorted state of mind. It's completely false. It's a cue. It's a trigger. That means that's the time you need to make a call because you're becoming distorted. It's a histrionic state of mind. The world is never going to be without you, better without you. And what do we learn in the military? 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So if you're not battle buddied up, you're nothing. You got nobody to call, nobody to lean on. And when you hit that state of mind, those distortions start hitting. Starts getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's a distortion. Do not forget that. Tell everybody you know. If they ever think to themselves, the world will be better without me, they're distorted. It's not true. It's a lie. It's a lie. And your squad leader needs to tell you it's a lie when it happens. And your squad leader needs to tell you, hey, remember you took the Spartan Pledge? Battle drill, go. That's what happens. No hesitation. Just do it. The Spartan Pledge was written in 2 sentences. Just 2. You don't have to memorize it perfectly, but you got to get the gist of it. Now let me explain it to you. Right after that photograph was taken, I was talking to my brother from Iraq. Subject of suicide came up. This was before 22 anything. This was back when the number was 18, with only 8 states reporting, by the way. And I said, hey, brother, you ever thought about suicide? And he goes, every day. Every day. Every day? I mean, that's why we're thick as thieves. I mean, we did stuff. I knew everything about him. I knew if he moved this way, it meant that. I knew if he moved this way, it meant this. Every single thing I knew about him. But I didn't know he wants to kill himself every day. How could I not know that? So we made an agreement with each other. Before you do that, call me. Do not leave me on this planet wondering what the hell happened. Now, you're a grown man. You can do what you want with your life. You can even take it. I can't stop you. But before that happens, call me. Just let me know what's going on. Amazing thing about that is when you make that call and let somebody know what's going on, suicide dissipates, goes away, because you've broken the tunnel vision. That's why when people give me flack about the Spartan Pledge, they say, why doesn't it say, I will never take my life? These people are distorted. Because when you're in that state of mind, you can't say never. You can't even think about taking a shower that day, let alone never. So it's a battle drill. The Spartan Pledge is a battle drill. It's what to do when you don't know what to do. And like every other battle drill, there has to be training. Well, the training starts with you and one other warfighter, you take it together. That way, when the shit does hit the fan, you already know what to do. Go to the battle drill. What do you do when you don't know what to do? You get your battle buddy on the phone. It's that simple. That doesn't mean send them a text, leave them a voicemail. That means talk. That's what that means. Second part of the Spartan Pledge, my mission is to find a mission to help my warfighter family, because we know this. Every warfighter with a mission is a deadly warfighter. But every warfighter without a mission is a dead warfighter, because why aren't you fighting for something? That's what we do. So those two sentences mean a lot. First, it means you coalesce with one other, so you're never alone. That's important, because it's the isolation that kills. And you understand what the battle drill is now. And the second sentence is about the mission. It's about the purpose again. And it's about getting back into a group. So one, you're never alone, because two is one and one is none. And the other one is about the group. Build the group, coalesce. Build that social capital. That's where our security is in every form. And remember that we are the leadership community of America. And that's what we have to do next. Because these little kids, they're committing suicide. We know how to handle that. We need to step up and help them. Other people, completely in disarray. No families, all kinds of problems. A lot of us came from those type of situations. But now we have the skills, and we have the moxie inside that says, I know how to do that. Let me make it happen. Lead, follow, I'll boot your ass out of the way. That's the way we got to stay. Remain militant with kindness. Any questions about anything across the country? Been doing this a while. People ask me, what do you do, Boone? I'm like, I really don't fucking know. I just kind of walk around and talk to people. Give me a question anywhere. La-di-da-di, anybody.
You almost died last year. What happened?
I should have been dead in April. And what happened, for a lot of years, I had sleep apnea. And the sleep apnea ended up resulting in cardiomyopathy, heart failure, and a condition known as polycythemia, which is a long way of saying my blood got way too thick because my heart didn't want to work and it wanted to stop beating. And so the condition sudden cardiac death was kind of my future. And it was really interesting. We were talking about some of the story last night. I go in and I see the cardiologist, finally, after they get all my diagnosis and stuff. And my cardiologist does one of these numbers. Come over here. My cardiologist goes, you're going to be okay. And immediately I went back to basic training when you knew your buddy was going to die. And he's going, you're going to be okay, bro. And this cardiologist looking at me, he's like, you're going to be okay, man. And I was like, your nonverbals are screaming, you're full of shit right now. Listen. So that was my scary moment with that. And so we went down to Panama, and I got stem cell therapy. Stem cell therapy has been amazing. When I went there in a wheelchair, in January, I was in a wheelchair. My wife pushed me to Panama in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. I was down to, my ejection fraction was 30, and it wasn't going to correct. There was no way to correct it. And so we went down there. They gave me the stem cells. I got on a CPAP machine because now I figured out I have sleep apnea. And now I'm training again. I feel better now, honestly, than I did before I went to Iraq. I mean, stronger, healthier. So stem cells. When we talk about health and wellness, I've done it all. I did all the drugs. Like, you can't imagine the drugs I've done. I've OD'd on VA drugs and Walter Reed drugs. I was Walter Reed for 2 years, and I did all their dope, and that didn't work. None of it worked. But I found what does work across the board is stem cell therapy, hormone replacement therapy, cannabinoids, hyperbaric oxygen, low sugar diet, and exercise. Like, if you can just, we could all get that, we'd be good to go. We don't have to do all that nonsense. Thank you for your question, sir. Next up. Don't be shy now. Do I believe a civilian can be a battle buddy? I used to say absolutely no. But I talk to other people and they say, you know what, I'm kind of battled up with my wife more than I am my battle buddies. You know, and that happens. It's happened to me. My wife and I are very, very close. She saved my life twice. I mean, what's a battle buddy do? They save your life. Anybody who's willing to save your life, that's a battle buddy. Next question.
Something about the momentum as your field of vision so that myopic place starts to build
That's a great question. Here's what I've seen. When we used to call it the question was this: explain that what we call is the path to extinction, how we're becoming extinct, how that happened. That's the whole suicide, taking your own life thing. It's rarely something that just all of a sudden one day pops up. I mean, yeah, you might have some fleeting thoughts every now and then, like, what if I put my car into a pylon? Don't tell me you haven't thought it, because I know you have. All this kind of stuff, all normal. Not good, but it happens. Now, all of a sudden, life starts going a little bit bad. Losing your job, feeling that discrimination. Go to court, you're going to get hosed in court if you're warfighter with PTSD. Bottom line, that's what happens. Okay, you go through all these things, and so there's going to be life issues that really feel like they're unsurmountable. Because they just feel unsurmountable in the moment. And then usually it's the breaking of that last tie that says your identity is okay, which is usually a spouse, a girlfriend, boyfriend, someone you care for. They basically say, hey, I'm done with you. And now you're just free-floating. You got nothing to hang on to. And every message has been, the world's going to be better off without you because I don't even want to be around you. So that's kind of what happens. It's little tiny chops, and then all of a sudden you can't see anything, can't get outside of yourself, and you really think the world's good. I put a gun to my head, and I remember when I did. It was mainly I really believe it was propagated by the drugs. Because when you're on the drugs, when you're on all the psych meds and everything, you really want to correct the fucked up things in your life. But you can't get your shit together enough to correct the fucked up things in your life. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, why don't you try this drug on top of those drugs? Maybe then you can correct the fucked up shit in your life. And it just becomes that cycle. And as far as I'm concerned, that leading to suicide is just so easy. It's so easy to make you kill yourself when you don't have a sense of self-preservation. And that's what those drugs do a lot of times. Because they're supposed to stop you from having the impulse to hurt yourself. But the problem is, when you're already committed to hurting yourself, then it stops the impulse to stop you from hurting yourself. Because it's stopping the impulse. And so you just roll with it. The only reason I didn't pull my trigger is because I was like, why don't I want to stop? I found that so interesting. Why don't I want to stop? Why don't I have a sense of self-preservation? It makes no sense. And the curiosity kind of kept me going about it. But because I intellectualize everything. But yeah, I'm real sexy that way. So that's kind of where that path happened. And that's why those drugs are dangerous. You know, that's why they're dangerous, because they don't only just stop the impulse that makes you want to not die. If you already want to die and you're on them, then it stops the impulse that makes you want to stay alive. In my opinion. Yes, sir.
Through like a significant other and then friends and such that I've had in the last 10 years since I got out, I've had it a lot of times where they say, you're not in the Army anymore, you're not in the military, quit acting like it, but you're not in the military anymore, why can't you just, get on with your life? that was that's a 4-year block. You're done, keep moving, whatever. Like, you're civilian now. You're describing us all as war fighters. Like, I definitely agree. What would you say to somebody like that? Like, I'm sorry, like, my DNA's changed. This is the way I am. I talk about it all the time because that's the biggest thing since high school that I have to fall back on. I'm not talking about football back in the day or whatever. It's just all my experiences come from while I was in the military. Got the best friends that I still have. Almost died with them. I'm sorry that a lot of my life experiences or the way that I think relates to that, but like, what would you tell a civilian or significant other, like, this is why I am the way I am and why I'm going to continue that way?
Well, I think you just said it. It's just we got to pick a couple other words. And one of the words I would say, when you join the military, the reason you joined is because you have a certain identity, okay? But what does the military do is reinforces that identity. And then you get out. I mean, it's like taking a civilian and going, hey, guess what? You're going to be on patrol tonight in Solder City. And by the way, why can't you just be like us? It's the same thing. They couldn't do that. Now without training, now without mentorship, now without the desire, they couldn't do it, okay? So it's, when you flip it around the other way, then they kind of go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They're always going to throw the yeah, but at you because cognitive dissonance is real and it's very strong. And that's where we as warfighters have to realize that we understand that they don't understand. And that's perfectly fine because we're only in charge of ourselves. Now, do they have some constructive criticism with what they're saying? Yeah. What are they really trying to say? What's the theme behind that? I can't relate to you. That's the theme. I can't relate to you. So instead of trying to create that relating 24/7 with the person, find the common ground and go from there. Find the common ground, go from there. But don't stop talking. That's my suggestion. Somebody else.
You had made the statement that you had found some things that worked. What are those working for, and how do you incorporate them? Where do you find them?
Worked for what?
You had mentioned oxygen, stem cell,
Okay.
cannabis.
Yeah.
I think there was one other.
I'll figure it out again. Hormone replacement, because we are hormone. I mean, how they work really makes us all work better or differently. Where to find that stuff? Different places. Most places, most doctors do hormone replacement now. It's not uncommon. Hyperbaric oxygen, a little harder to get into. The VA is now doing hyperbaric oxygen. They want to do that. Cannabinoids, that's kind of on you. You got to find a community that understands about cannabinoids. I'm not just talking about getting high. I'm talking about CBD, CBG, CBN, and THC. I'm talking about all of it. For me, when I started using cannabis to sleep, it changed a lot of things for me because I was off the other drugs. Cannabis is in your system, it's out of your system as far as therapeutically what it's affecting. It's not like taking an Ambien and you're just like crazy for a day even after you wake up from it. And you don't know when it's working, when it's not working. And I'll tell you an Ambien story. It's my greatest Ambien story. I woke up one morning with a gallon of ice cream in the bed, a spoon, ice cream's gone, and 12 pairs of sunglasses. Because evidently they had a sale at 7-Eleven that night. Then I looked at my receipt and I was like, oh my God, I was at 7-Eleven last night buying sunglasses, eating ice cream. So, I've never done that on cannabis, The ice cream maybe, but not the glasses. So, to me, it's about safety and what's practical. Okay, once I started getting good sleep, and a lot of things changed, because one, I got off of more medications, and two, just good sleep in itself was helping the connectivity of any brain issues, and just made life a lot. I mean, let's face it, insomnia, you're a prick. You got insomnia, you're a prick. Okay, and I was 24/7 prick. So once I got good sleep, that was great. And then once I got CBD for daytime, that's non-psychotropic, CBD got me off the opiates. Now, when I say opiates, I'm not just talking about, oh yeah, I took opiates. I'm talking like 90 milligrams of morphine, 70 milligrams of OxyContin every day. Every day, okay? And when you're at that kind of high level, it stops working, you build up your tolerance, so on and so on. So you always have to go into a detox phase to get yourself cleaned out so you can start again. And I always tried to not do it, but, anybody can take the worst pain in the world. It's just a matter of how long, because everyone has a breaking point. And sometimes there's people around you going, you're such an asshole, I wish you'd do something. Like, boom, I don't want to be a problem. So that's kind of how that was reinforced. But when I found CBD, and I figured out how to dose CBD and use CBD, then that whole thing changed. That got me off of the painkillers that I'd been on forever. And by the time the heart condition happened, one of the contributing factors to the heart condition is I had stage 3 liver disease. Kidney disease. And so another thing that just affected the heart. And the kidneys were blown out from opiates, just blown out. And all that stuff almost killed me. So stem cells, the best stem cells are out of the country. They're called expanded stem cells. They can't do it in the United States. And I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about that stuff, outside about stem cells. That's my story. It truly did save my life. Who's next?
Hey, would you talk a little bit about, you like to say the street level leadership?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been following your posts for a long time, and it gets gritty and, a little crass sometimes, but it's very inspirational, and you move a lot of people from point A to point B. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that is the goal. We want to get people from point A to point B. When I talk about the street leadership, I'm talking about emergent leaders. Emergent leaders that are in their local communities, making contact with people, and actually taking, it would be a travesty to come to this event and not take away the message that we're talking about. That would be a travesty. And when I say not take away, that means if you don't give it away to somebody else, because you never know who you're talking about. The guy who saved me at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, that helped me get out of there, gave me a job when I honestly couldn't even do a job, and let me work there for 2 years. That guy had no idea that there would be something called the Spartan Pledge that came from me staying alive. He just knew he wanted to help one person. So the person that you're passing on information to, that you're helping, you got no clue what they're going to do. No clue. It's huge. It's huge. So make sure you look at every emergent leader that's at that street level that's coming up right now. Look at them like they're the next big thing and train them appropriately. Tell them about that squad leader. Tell them about your traumatic self, your actual self, and your squad leaders in charge. You give them that authority and you listen. Some people tell me this. This is a real simple one. Guys tell me, emergent leader, we're talking that kind of stuff. Guys tell me, hey, Boone, I don't know what I want to do. I know I got to have a purpose. And I remember I went to NCO Academy, and they were like, yeah, purpose, direction, motivation. Those are 3 things a leader must provide. And I don't know what to do for myself. And I said, okay, let's do it this way. I'm going to follow you. Where are you going to lead me? See, when you take the impetus off of them, because we are selfless, and you say, no, you're not taking you to the destination you're trying to get to. You're not taking you to the objective. You're taking me. Where are you going to take me? Because now you're responsible for me. Changes the whole perspective. Now guys can click in. Oh, I got you. Okay. I'm not selfish now. Because in my mind, I'm doing it for someone else. I'm taking them. Does that answer your question? Where you at?
Oh, yeah.
You good? Okay. Next question. Give them to me, guys. I love this. Going once. Going twice. I got to tell you, I almost did this. Going 3 times. No, really. I just signed this contract because I'm going to do this contract. And they had 3 conditions for me on the contract. 1, I can't swear in front of people. 2, drinking. Don't get wild when I'm drinking, because they saw me at Skyball. And the 3rd one is, I may not extend my middle finger in photographs. I'm like, that sounds like a warfighter contract right there. I need to assimilate. But it's funny stuff. Next question. Come on, guys. You're going to wonder later.
I was just going to say, mention, because I think a lot of people, since CBD is almost everywhere now.
Right.
I was going to say, since CBD is almost everywhere now, talk about, because I know you fairly well have a good knowledge and base on the use of it and dosage levels, even though it varies from product to product. But talk about that a little bit, because I think people need to know it's something that's just not written on the little bottle.
Okay, here's the thing about CBD. It came out and it was represented improperly because it was given to people in a dropper. And so people insinuated for themselves that, oh, I must take drops. It's not drops. It's milligrams. You need to take a certain amount of milligrams. And the body has an endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system does not work without cannabinoids. And so that's how you activate the endocannabinoid system. The purpose of the endocannabinoid system is to bring homeostasis to the body. So if something is out of whack, it's like a first sergeant says, I need beans and bullets there. I need beans and bullets there. It starts marshaling body systems to work together. Okay, and also reduces inflammation in the body. Inflammation is pain, inflammation is disease. That's why CBD works. The way you start out with CBD is 50 milligrams 3 times a day for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, start taking less. Lower the amount you take to where you maintain the therapeutic effect. So 50 milligrams 3 times a day for 10 days, and then start ramping down. And that's how you find your dose. Nobody can tell you how much you should take based upon the scale. Just like I can't ask you to step on a scale and you to step on a scale and go, gee, how much, and you're both diabetics. I can't go, which one of you, how do I determine how much insulin you need by your weight? I can't do that. Doctors can't do it. It's about something else. So your insulin levels. So the way you find your CBD level is the way I just told you. That's how you find your dose. And everybody's different. Some people might be the same, but everybody's different. Thank you for that question. Next up, I'll answer anything. Well, let me tell you about that. Both. Both. Okay, that's what I got. I got a question for you right now. We're going to kind of follow on with something, and I would like, Mama Hill, would you please come up here? Carl, would you please come up here too? Just kind of spend some time with us. Come on over here, ma'am. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Could you tell me about these dog tags? Who do they belong to?
They belong to my son, Adam Hill Gibson. As Carl mentioned yesterday, the 24th was 10 years since he had that narrowing of vision and in a sudden impulsive moment ended his life due to symptoms of post-traumatic stress. And what I was trying to say to you is, the collision of events, anything that was out there as a separate line item experience that he was having, he probably would have been okay, but you push them all together, and that his anxiety levels, all of that, were never really probably below a 75, not coming down to a 25 like other people. And then he had a relationship crisis. The girl he was with, he finally got out of her. She was having an affair, and in an instant, the day he wasn't supposed to die. So 25 and 20 days was his age.
Yes,
would have been 35 on October 4th, and he was my only. And so I made a decision like a lot of you guys do when I'm trying to figure out who the fuck I am after I'm not a mom anymore, and then the marriage falls apart. Well, what should I be? And opportunities like with what you're presenting here, and opportunity to serve and do something more, and to stay connected to this family that I had no idea was so powerful, and no wonder he loved it so. Thanks for letting me be part of it.
Can I ask you a question? This is going to be painful. I want everybody to remember what I'm about to say, and remember what happens when I ask the question, because this is about the distortion. Is your world better now that he's gone?
Fuck no. I'm so happy to know you, but I wish I never met you. Right? I would do anything to have him back. Anything.
The pain doesn't stop. It just goes to somebody else. And that's why we got to take the Spartan Pledge. It's not for you. It's for the other person, so they know who to call. Raise your hand if you're taking the Spartan Pledge. Move forward. Come up here.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to take the Spartan Pledge, we're going to do a ceremony right here, right now, today, not just in support of the community, but I want to put this energy in support of you and your family. Who will support this woman? Come forward now. Anybody? Come on up. Come on up. There's other people who want to come up. Just make it happen. Move to the front. Move to the front. We need some help back there. Come on up here. We will. Come on up here. Just come on up. Let me help you out here. Excuse me, slide on by. Yeah, we'll back you in. I'll help you out. Let me help you out. Let me help you out right here. Take your hands off the wheel. Boone's driving, damn it. You might crash, but you know what? It's a party. It's all good.
Crash the party.
Watch your toes there. Okay. Everybody reach out and touch the person in front of you. Now, I want you to think about something during this time. Remember, it's not about you. It's about the other person. And when you do this, you need to carry it other places. So they will carry it other places. The Spartan Pledge is a battle drill. It's what to do when you don't know what to do. Repeat after me. I will not take my own life by my own hand. I will not take my life by my own hand. Until I talk to my battle buddy first. My mission is to find a mission. To help my warfighter family. Give yourself a round of applause. Outstanding. Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, I cannot tell you enough. I've done a lot of Spartan Pledge ceremonies, but probably not with as many leaders that's in this room. True leaders of the community. Things have changed a lot in the last 10 years. And we're just now getting the synergy we need. Don't let it die here. Take your ass out there, put the squad leader in charge, and get the job done all the way.